Hi, I'm Ruth McKeaney. Welcome back to Hillside Farm. Today we're taking a little trip down memory lane as I share some of my favorite recipes that we've had over the years and my family loves. These dishes have unforgettable flavors and lots of heart. I hope they bring you a little joy and inspiration to your home too. Enjoy.
Welcome to Hillside Farm. My name is Ruth McKeaney, and we are back to the end of winter, early spring series that we are doing. Basically getting your gardens ready, you know, those last minute warm soups, or today, cookies. So it's just a fun series because it's that in-between time where you need a little pick-me-up and kind of vision for what's coming. So today I'm going to do Ruth's Barely Baked Chocolate Chip Cookies. They are in my book called Hungry for Home. And I get asked more questions about these cookies because everybody tries to replicate them and people are like, they're not as good as yours. I promise you, they're as good as mine. You might just not be doing it absolutely correctly. So here we go. I'm gonna start this out with, we started the oven, 375 on convection. Why am I doing it that way? Convection, it'll cook the outside quickly. And that's one of the secrets to these cookies, is the interior of them stay kind of doughy. So when I say Ruth's Barely Baked, they really are Ruth's Barely Baked, but they look done from the outside. So we do that, and then I take 4 sticks of butter. I melt them mostly down, not completely, but because we aren't going to use a hand mixer or a standing mixer, all right, I'm gonna go get the butter and I'll bring it right back. Okay, here we are with 4 sticks of butter. And as you can see, it's not totally melted, although it doesn't hurt anything if you do, because I end up putting them in the fridge before I put them in the oven anyway. But put this into your big bowl, just like this. And I'm not even a perfectionist when it comes to baking. I know they say that baking you have to measure perfectly. I mean, my kids are like, these ones taste a little different, but all right, here we go, 4 sticks. Then we're gonna take, let's do our sugar first. We're gonna take a cup of white sugar and mix that in with this. I don't put my egg right into this because it's warm and you don't want your egg to turn into scrambled eggs. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix this. And into this, I'm going to add 2½ cups of light brown sugar. I've already measured that, so I'm just gonna dump that in there. I can't tell you, I think long before I wrote the book, I was known for these cookies all over the place. My dear friend, Lisa, maybe 30 years ago, gave me her recipe, which was very similar, and over the years, I've just kind of tweaked it, added a little of this, a little less of that. All right, get this all mixed up. You don't want there to be any clumps. Now, you do not want to use a hand mixer. Here's why. A hand mixer whips up that butter, and that makes them a little more cakey. This has to be done by hand. You just want it all incorporated. Now I'm going to do 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. I keep my vanilla in one of these things. It looks about right. 1.5 teaspoons. Mix that. Now I'm going to do 3 eggs, and yes, 3 eggs from our chickens, so they're all different colors. Here's a fun fact. Fresh eggs out of the chicken coop, I think they can sit on your counter. I think it's like 10 to 14 days. It's like crazy. You don't have to refrigerate them initially. All right, mix this up. Now, when I talk about entertaining, these cookies always come to mind because, and I'm going to show you later, I freeze these in cookie balls in Ziploc storage bags that are for the freezer. And I literally, what I do is, and I'll show you at the end, I make cookie balls and stick them in the freezer so I can pull them out at any time. And people think I've just made fresh cookies, even if they let me know 5 minutes before they got here. All right, this is mixed up. 1.5 teaspoons of a kosher salt, 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, and I mix these. And then 5 cups of flour. So here we go, the cup measure. 1. I've even tried using bread flour, and it was delicious with bread flour. It's just a little bit less starchy. All right. Mix this up. I'm going to use a big spoon for this. Well, and then I add the chocolate chips, and I keep my chocolate chips in this jar. I prefer, if I'm not at Costco getting a giant bag, I prefer Ghirardelli chocolate chips. They just melt differently. I don't even know another way to explain it, but if I have the time, I do pick up Ghirardelli chocolate chips, which is in pretty much any store in the bakery section. They've even got mini chips and like jumbo chips, so you can kind of swap it out when you want to. All right, I'm gonna use a spoon. This base of cookie dough I use at Halloween. I think I've mentioned where I let the kids crush up their own candy bars, and then they mix them in with the dough and they make their own candy bars. So it's kind of a versatile base for cookies. All right, here we go. And that oven's getting warm. It's getting warm in this kitchen. And usually I'm lucky if 3/4 of this gets into the fridge because my kids eat it. And I know, before anyone says anything, I realize you're not supposed to eat raw cookie dough. They eat raw cookie dough balls out of the freezer too. All right. And I know you're supposed to mix your dry ingredients and your wet ingredients separately. Sometimes I put it all together. It doesn't, I haven't noticed that makes a significant difference. All right. Now, we're going to do the chocolate chips. So you can just add as many as you want. All right. Here's what I'm going to do. I have these boards. Years ago, my husband and I found a gentleman who made these really thin wooden boards because we wanted to serve the kids pizzas on it and things like that. We just thought it would be a fun way to serve lunch in the barn. But they work well for what I'm about to do. So I take this scooper. Now I get asked a lot what size a scooper is. I have no idea, and it's not on here. But I can tell you, here's my ice cream scoop. There's the difference. But it's also, there's a mini one. It's not the mini one. So somewhere in the middle. And again, if you want to make giant cookies, make giant cookies. Doesn't matter. Okay, I take and I make rows of these balls. And I fill up this entire board. And I'm going to put it in the fridge so that it all firms up. Because after it firms up, I can either take the balls off and put them in the freezer Ziploc baggie and put that in the freezer. Or when they firm up, I put them in the oven. So I'm going to take this board just like this, and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator, I don't know, 15 minutes. Let them harden, and then either some are going to be frozen, some are going into the oven, so I can show you exactly how to do them in the oven. All right, so what I've done is I've taken just a few of the balls out of the fridge because they're firm now, and I'm gonna set them on the pan, keep them kind of far apart. I'm only gonna make a few because I'm saving the other ones. All right, stick this in. Again, it's at 375 convection. If you don't have convection, put it at 375 in your regular. All right, now we're gonna watch them. Ordinarily, I would say 10 to 12 minutes. You're going to see, this is where the trick is. I mean, besides the hand mixing, they're going to brown on the edges and they're gonna look a little, maybe a little doughy on the middle. You won't get sick, I promise. It's what makes them fantastic. So when we pull them out, I'm gonna show you so that you see exactly the coloring that and again, if you like harder cookies, cook them all the way. I just like them barely baked. Okay, right now I've begun to smell it and I peeked in and they're a little brown on the base. Oh, it's hot. Whew. You see there's a little teeny bit of brown. There's a little brown on the edges. And then I'll just put them on a plate or a board. And I am telling you, I mean, they're hot, but they are so good. Ruth's Barely Baked. You have to give it a shot. It's in the cookbook. Thank you for joining us and have a great day. My name is Ruth McKeaney and you're joining us for the summer series. And today we have a brand new recipe that I'm really excited to share. It might be one of my favorite cookie recipes. It's not in my cookbook. You know, I have a book called Hungry for Home right here that has a slew. It actually has my barely baked chocolate chip cookies in here, which is what I'm actually known for. But this particular recipe, it's a slightly different chocolate chip cookie and it's a little more salt and I can't stop eating them. So I'm gonna share the recipe with you. My amazing friend Lori is the one who shared the recipe with me and I think we've all made our own slightly different changes, but it's basically the same. So here we go. We get our KitchenAid, which I don't really get to get this out very much. It's so dang heavy. So we start here. We are gonna put 1 1/4 cup of flour in here. Yikes. And then we are going to take a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. My kids were really sweet in measuring this all out for me. And we're gonna take 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda and 3/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. That goes in there. And then we're gonna do 2 sticks of butter. I knew I had them. There's one. This recipe, you might not go back to regular chocolate chip cookies after this. They're that good. And once you put them in the fridge and let them firm up, I'm gonna go ahead and mix these. And it needs to mix for a while. Here we go. Wait, let me put it down lower. Do you like the puff of flour that went everywhere? We're gonna mix this for a while. It needs to get really creamy. And actually, true confessions, I just did the wrong order. I put the flour in first with the butter. It should have been the sugar. So just swap that out because I'm not redoing this. All right, here we go. We're gonna increase it. Okay, here we go. Yes, mistakes can be made in the kitchen and you can fix it, I promise. So what we've done is we've added all of the dry stuff and we added the butter. Obviously, I wasn't supposed to add the butter yet, but I don't think it ultimately matters. But the recipe will have the correct way of doing it. but I've messed up like this before and it was just fine. So we do need to add the sugars. So we need to add 2/3 of a cup of light brown sugar. Here we go, getting that in there. Yikes. And a cup of white sugar. Add that in there. Okay, and 2 tablespoons of light corn syrup. This makes them, they are so chewy, crispy and chewy, which that combination is really a nice combination. All right, 2 tablespoons of light corn syrup. And now I'm gonna turn this mixer on for 3 minutes. Time does matter on how much you mix these, so mix it for 3 minutes. All right, here we go. And there's no flour this time. Medium high. This can scare me. All right, we're gonna let that go. Okay, these are done. All right, we've been mixing this for 3 minutes. Now we get to the fun part. We're gonna add 1 egg into that. Oh my gosh, it's so good. A teaspoon of vanilla. I kind of eye vanilla. And there you go. And now we have to mix this for 8 minutes. So go ahead, do something fun, medium high, 8 minutes. So I would say medium high is right here. Okay, it's been 8 minutes. Let's shut this off. I'm gonna show you what it looks like because it's really fun. It's just a big difference. I tell you what, I'm never very good at these KitchenAid things. Okay, it comes up. There we go. All right. Look, it's very light colored. It's so good. All right, here we go. Now we are going to add the rest of our stuff. We've got 1/3 of a cup. Actually, let me clean this out first so we get all of it in here. Oh my gosh, you can't waste a single bit of this. Usually I have a couple, I don't know, several dozen at a time of my chocolate chip Ruth's Barely Baked, all frozen in the oven, so that at any time I can pull them out. We do this as well with these cookies. You can keep the doughs frozen in balls in your freezer. So anytime you have company, anytime your kids come home, you can whip them out and they think you spent all day baking for them. All right, here we go. We have got 1/3 of a cup of rolled oats. We're gonna add that. Okay, mix it just a little bit. Add in 3/4 cups of chocolate chips. You can do light, dark, doesn't matter. Mix that in. Now here comes the magic. You're going to add a cup of crushed pretzels. Now I did little mini pretzels and then I crushed them. I put them in a bag and then took something heavy and just banged them. But I know this measures out. So here we go, about a cup. And then you need 2 cups of crushed potato chips. Now, I recommend using like Cape Cod potato chips or something like that because they're a little sturdier. And then add that. This is what gets them in a little bit extra salt. So here we go, mix these up. I mean, technically, I guess these are called compost cookies. Because compost, what is compost, right? It's everything left over that you throw into something. That's what this is. Everything left over. Oh my gosh. So yummy. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we are going to make these balls just like this on the tray. Then I'm gonna put it in the fridge. In the fridge, what they're going to do is they're gonna harden up. Now at that point, you have one of 2 choices. You get to go ahead and cook a few, cook them all, or you can put them into I put them into gallon Ziploc baggies and I freeze them. Today I'm gonna make them. So here we go. Oh gosh, making sure I get fully, they're gonna expand. So I'm actually only gonna do 2 rows. And this one doesn't look very pretty, so I'm gonna add a little. So make the rows a little bit wider. I'm gonna put this in the freezer. Oven's on 375. When we pull these out and they're hardened, we're gonna put them in for about 18 minutes. The edges will be dark, a brown, medium brown, but the insides will still look not quite totally brown or done, and you are gonna be so happy you made these. All right, but it's chewy, and it has just a hint of crunch, but it is chewy. That's what these are, and I think it's the corn syrup that does it, but I'm telling you, I promise, I promise, I promise. Try these, you will never go back. And keep watching Hungry for Home on Instagram, because every Tuesday I roll out a tip on it could be decorating, it could be cooking, families, entertaining. That happens on Tuesdays on Hungry for Home, or you can go to the website www.hungryforhome.com. Have a great day. Hillside Farm, my name is Ruth McKeaney, and we are here doing the summer series. I am incredibly excited to talk with you about what we're going to do today in the kitchen. It's a carrot cake. And I have to tell you, I was never a big carrot cake fan. I love cream cheese frostings, but most carrot cakes are not really moist that I've had. And I got this recipe from my cousin Chriselle, who I think is one of the best cooks that I know. And she shared it with me, and I'm telling you, it is by far one of the best. I realize my book, Hungry for Home, it's not in the book, but I will make sure that the recipe is posted on my website, which is hungryforhome.com. Hungry, the number 4, home.com. Or else you can check out my Instagram, Hungry for Home, that's F-O-R, not the number, F-O-R, because every week I put on Tip Tuesdays, whether they're tips for cooking, gardening, entertaining, or just family tradition and those kind of tips. So check out those 2 places, and that's where today's recipe will be. All right, thank you, Chriselle, wherever you are, because this recipe is amazing. I promise you, you will go out and make it. All right, start, you get a bowl. Okay, so we are gonna start with 2 cups of flour. Dump that in. I'll tell you what, my daughters last night helped me measure everything, and that helps so much. Okay, we're gonna do a 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. Here we got, I collect salt cellars, so I have salt in everything all over my house. All right, a 1/2 teaspoon of that. We're gonna do 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Drop that. 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. All right, and then a teaspoon of nutmeg. All right, we've got all the dry ingredients, and we're gonna whip it up a little bit. I mean, when I say whip it up at this point, we're just gonna incorporate everything so that when we add all of our wet ingredients, it's already mixed. Anytime you have, specifically if you have spices, you don't want clumps of spices, I promise. So, I am telling you, you're gonna love this recipe. All right, that's all mixed up. Now, once that's mixed up, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do our carrots. So, we need 3 cups of shredded carrots. Now, some people like to see the carrot in the cake. I don't, and I like a really clean bite, but do what you want. One of my kids likes them a little bit with the shredded, so I save a little shredded and add it, or you can totally pulverize. It doesn't matter. The point is you need 3 cups. So, I might call it minced carrots. All right, here we go. We need 3 cups of minced carrots. Minced. Okay, before I do that, I'm going to do 4 eggs. We're gonna put all of this in here. Well, maybe I can measure out the carrots first. Let's see, 3 cups. See? It's pretty minced. It's not pulverized, but you're not seeing whole carrots. I promise you though, it just makes it that much moister in the end. All right, 3 cups. I'm adding a little bit more. All right, there's our carrots. By the way, I have preheated the oven at 350. That's been going for a while, so it's gonna be ready to go when the cake is ready. All right, we have the 3 cups of carrots. I'm going to add 4 eggs. These are fresh from our chickens this morning. Here we go, 4 eggs. It's kind of fun being able to just go right outside and collect your eggs. All right, let me mix that up a little bit. You know, usually my favorites have to do with chocolate or vanilla or some kind of berry tart. All of those things I have in the book. So it's fun to do something just a little bit different and have people love it. I made this for a party the other night and people couldn't stop talking about it, and I got so many texts the next day asking for the recipe. So we go from there to 3/4 cup of buttermilk. Here we go. I mean, what is not good with buttermilk? It just makes everything moist. Okay, 3/4 cups of buttermilk, 3/4 cups of vegetable oil. Now, a lot of people don't like to use vegetable oil. It is not healthy. You can use avocado oil if you want, but just add 3/4 cup. Continue to mix. And here we go, 1.5 cups of sugar. All right, let's mix this up. And now we're gonna combine our dry ingredients and our wet ingredients. Oh my gosh, this is so good. And I am telling you, the cream cheese frosting, well, it makes everything worth it. Here we go. I'm gonna use this mixer for this portion. Okay, what I've decided to do, instead of making one large 9x13 cake, which is the way usually you would do this, is I'm doing 2 8x8 pans because I'm gonna give one away. So I've already greased both of these pans, and here we go. Let's pour this cake in there. Make sure they're even. It doesn't take long to make it. It's surprising. All right. Oh. I mean, come on. As I make a mess everywhere. And that's it. It's greased, it's ready to go. When we pull these out, they'll have risen all the way. We will let them cool. Then we're gonna, this is the name of the game. It's what makes a cake or breaks a cake. I love cream cheese frosting. So on this particular cake, it just, I can't get enough cream cheese frosting. So how do you do it? All right, let's take a block of cream cheese. It's been softened. Throw that in there. A softened stick of butter, real butter. All right, then we're gonna take 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And obviously I kind of eye this. That might be a little much, but that's okay. And then here's where it gets a little tricky, and it gets to what your personal taste is. I like it a little less sweet. Some people like it a little more sweet. If you like it a little more sweet, add 3 cups of powdered sugar. I tend to add it and taste it as I go, just to see if it's exactly what I want. So I'm gonna start with a cup. I'll start with 2 cups of powdered sugar. And then I'll kind of taste it at that point and see if it's what I am looking for. Here we go. Let's hope it doesn't all fly everywhere. Yeah, it's flying. I'm gonna clean this one out and finish it up by hand, but let me just take a little taste. See, 2 cups is enough powdered sugar for me. Some people, you're all in, boy, you're going 3 cups. So remember, it's up to you. I'm not gonna use my finger. It's up to you and whatever you want. We're gonna finish whipping this up, make it a nice whipped kind of frosting. And when that cake cools, we are going to spread it all over and you are going to thank me, I promise. But the cake is going to be in there between 40 and 60 minutes. Start checking it at 40. I take it when it is just done. I take it out. I don't like it to be too firm because, again, I like it really moist. But check it between 40 and 60 minutes. So we'll see you then. All right, we took these cakes out of the oven. I let them cool because remember, you can't put the icing on them if they haven't cooled. Now, here we go. Cream cheese icing is gonna go all over it. Oh my gosh, it is so good. And here we have one already done. Look at the wonders. And here we go. It does not get better than this piece of cake. So I'm telling you, taste it. You will love it, and so will all of your company. Have a great day. Don't forget, check Hungry for Home on Instagram. Every Tuesday I do Tip Tuesdays and a bunch of other facts that I put out there, as well as my website, www.hungryforhome. Have a great day. Welcome back to the spring series. I am very, very excited about this particular recipe. It was a gift. The recipe actually was a gift from a friend of mine who came up from Charlotte, and it had been in her family, and it's a family recipe. So the fact that she shared it and is permitting me to share it is a really big deal. What we've got is pound cake. Now, I need to tell you, I've always thought of pound cake as something generations gone past, right? You only serve it for teas and things like that. Until Lynn, my friend, came up from, again, Charlotte, and brought this unbelievably moist pound cake. It's the best pound cake I've ever had in my life. She did something a little fun with it. In the morning when we woke up, she kind of lightly toasted it and put a little bit of butter on it. It was phenomenal. So we get to make it because of that. And I think it's only fitting that Mother's Day is coming, because you could make this for your mother with all sorts of berries topping it. I mean, with anything. So a mother is going to enjoy this. All right, here we go. We are going to take 3 sticks of butter at room temperature, okay? And we're gonna take an entire block of cream cheese. Goodness. Set that over there. Pound cake, it's funny, right? I always think I'm gonna love it, and then I don't always do, but I'm telling you, I ate through this cake. And even to just warm it slightly, I'm telling you, it's incredible. All right, stick this in. Mother's Day would be a great time to do this. Mother's Day. I was thinking about Mother's Day the other day. One of my friends and I were talking about it. I remember my mom never loving Mother's Day. And until I became a mother, I didn't really understand why. Because when you have younger kids, who really is going to do anything for you unless your husband remembers? And when, you know, this particular friend was saying, what happens when you have a mother in the area and a mother-in-law? Do you do things for them and then nothing's really done for you? It just becomes like this wanting to bless the most important people in your life, and yet oftentimes those are the ones that do the planning. So how does it all work? All right, here we go. We've got the butter, cream cheese, and I'm going to add to that a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm going to go ahead and cream this. Okay, to this, once you get it creamed, we're going to go ahead and add 3 cups of sugar, just a regular granulated sugar. Now I've already preheated the oven to 325. All right, let's go. Once you get the butter, the cream cheese, the vanilla, and the sugar all creamed, go ahead and add, from our chickens, 6 eggs at room temperature. Makes it easier when things are at room temperature for this recipe. But back to Mother's Day. Mother's Day for me is really hard. My mom died
almost, I mean, we're going on 20 years in a few years. And so it's just always hard. So I think what I'm going to really try to do this Mother's Day, and I would recommend it to anyone I know, is figure out special ways to celebrate your mother besides taking her out to eat. I think that's an obvious one. But write a letter to her. That's not something, and I'm going to get teary, but if I could go back and do it, that's what I would do. So the mothers that are in your life, spend some time, real thoughtful time, writing a letter about why you appreciate them as mothers. We think we do it every day, all the time, but I can tell you this. I mean, mothers, becoming a mother was probably the greatest gift I've had, and yet oftentimes one of the greatest challenges. So mothers deserve huge hugs. But yeah, think about writing a letter. I think that would be a beautiful thing. And if you know somebody with young kids, maybe they're a single mom. I'm trying to get a shell out of here. Maybe have their kids over to your house and have them write a letter from them with you so that you can give that to them. All right. All right, now once you get this all incorporated, you're going to take a good pinch of kosher salt, just kind of spread that around like that. And then you're going to add 3 cups of flour. This cake, it's a masterpiece. Have your kids make it for their mom. Have them, make them a tea. Have your kids, or if you don't have a mom and there's another mom that you can celebrate, get their kids to make them breakfast in bed. Get creative. All right. You won't always have the opportunity to tell your mom you love her, and the reasons why you love her, and the reasons you're thankful for her. There we go. I think we as moms, we are most of us are pretty self-aware as to the mistakes that we can make. So sometimes it's just good to hear the things that you do right. All right. Okay, and we're gonna blend it one more time. This is then gonna go into 325. We are going to take a bundt pan and make sure it's fully greased and put it in the oven at 325 for about an hour, hour and a half. You're going to check it during that time. You don't want to overbake it. And the top is supposed to get a little cracky, a little crack on the top, but it's going to be moist and dense on the inside. I'm going to give this another shot. All right, so get a bundt pan, get a pretty one. This one, it's beautiful when it comes out. Spray it. Now I spray, my kids have me off of all those seed oils, so I'm using coconut oil. There's avocado oil. There's different ways of doing it. You could melt butter and put that in there, but just make sure it's all coated because you're gonna have to turn it over and you need it to come out. You're gonna be so excited for this recipe. All right. It is so thick and so rich, and I think it might be the cream cheese that adds, that little extra something. I mean, my friend Lynn was spending the night last week. She was in town, and she and her husband came down in the morning, and they brought this bundt cake, and she started to slice it. I'm like, it's breakfast time. And she's like, oh, it goes with breakfast. So she sliced it, and again, like I said, she toasted it for a moment, put a little teeny bit of butter, and then we had it at lunch with berries. There's all sorts of ways to serve this. Kind of just smooth it out, make it all even on top. And we'll put this in the oven. All right, here it goes in the oven.
All right, the great thing is while that one's cooking, I already had another one cooking this morning because I'm surprising my daughter and her husband. When they come over tonight, they love this cake, so I've made one for them ahead of time. So what you do is once you cut that bundt cake, you take a little bit of powdered sugar, sprinkle that powdered sugar all over it. If they like berries, whether it's blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, blueberries, put those next to it. Or they might just want it plain, or like I said, just a teeny little bit of butter on it, which was incredible. No matter what, this has a real nostalgic feel for me and pound cake, and it is probably, no, without question, the best pound cake I've ever had. So I hope you make it. I hope you think about making it for Mother's Day. Think about having, a picnic or a tea out in the yard with your mother or another mother that you know, and bless them with it. Write a letter. Tell people how much you love them, what you appreciate about them. Use these moments, these opportunities like Mother's Day or Father's Day to do things that you don't necessarily always take the time to do. And then, love those in your family well. All right, thank you so much for joining us, and have a wonderful spring. The thing about having family and friends over is usually we get a call there's a special request. And I'm actually kind of excited about this special request because it is one of my very favorite cakes. It's on page 108 in the cookbook, and I've made it before. It's the Welcome Chocolate Bundt Cake. I prefer the vanilla one with chocolate chips. I think probably we're a split family on this topic. But I'm very excited to make it, and it's so easy. I feel like I'm cheating. But I can tell you, if you ever get asked to bring a dessert to an event and you only have a very short time, make this, because you will be every single person's favorite guest when you bring this. All right, you're going to start out with a yellow cake mix. I'm telling you, this is sinfully easy and actually kind of embarrassing. But it is everybody's favorite. And it doesn't even need icing. That's the amazing thing. All right, so you take one of those. Then you're going to take an instant pudding, not the small box, the big box. You dump everything in all at once. That's what's so nice. All right, I'm going to dump this in there. I have the oven preheated at 325. This will be good because not everybody's going to want the sorbet, and it gives people an option. All right, you got that? Mm-hmm. All right, now I'm going to get 1 cup of avocado oil. The recipe in the book calls for vegetable oil, but my daughters have me changing to use avocado oil instead of seed oil. So we're going to use an avocado oil. All right, a cup. There you go. I'm going to get a cup of water. I mean, this is literally a dump and go recipe. There you go. A cup of sour cream. When we go to our cousin's house for New Year's, I am asked to make this every day that we're there. Every day that we're there. 4 eggs and a cup of sour cream. Now, Audrey is going to mix all of that with a mixer. We are then going to add however many chocolate chips you want. We have some that don't like too many when you have this many people in a family, nobody can agree on anything. So we won't put too many chocolate chips. I keep most of my baking ingredients in jars like this with scoops. Okay. You have to try this recipe because I'm telling you, you probably have every single ingredient in your pantry. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and spray avocado oil into a bundt pan. And make sure everything is coated. You don't want any of it to stick. Get a paper towel. I'm just wiping it to make sure every single crevice is greased so that it comes out quickly. Is it ready? Yes. All right. this. Think that's enough? A little bit.
That's good.
A little bit more.
Maybe a little.
Okay. That's how fast this work comes together. Ooh. Got it. Let's dump it into here. Let me use this.
You're on a rotate.
Oh yeah, I can turn this. When I tell you, I take this to every luncheon I go to, every dinner I go to, every party I go to. There you go. And the trick is, you got it.
Yeah.
You know how my cookies are called Ruth's Barely Baked? Well, the trick to this one is to pull it out at just the right time so that it's not completely cooked, because it keeps cooking for a few minutes when you take it out, so that it is absolutely the moistest cake you've ever had. And we are getting this, it's at 325. It's going to cook between 45 and 50 minutes. Check it at 45. Got it? Thank you. All right. Okay, I think the cake is ready. Oh my gosh, if you could smell my kitchen right now.